Listen closely, my friend, because some houses do not just hold memories, they hold voices. I did not believe it myself until the night I followed the family called the Adeyemis to the place that would change their lives forever. They were excited, laughing, hugging, carrying boxes, stepping into the kind of house that makes neighbors jealous and pastors shout, "Congratulations." The house was beautiful, sitting at the end of a quiet street, tall trees standing like old guards around it. From outside, nothing looked wrong. Nothing looked strange. Nothing whispered. But houses have their own ways of hiding secrets. From the moment they entered, I noticed something the family did not. The house exhaled. A slow, warm breath, like something waking up after a long sleep. Of course, the Adeyemis thought it was the wind. But I knew better. The father, Akin, was the type of man who believed problems only existed if you named them. He walked from room to room with pride, tapping the walls, talking about repainting, expanding, improving. The mother, Monarchy, walked gently behind him, one hand resting on her growing stomach. She was 6 months pregnant, the softness of her smile touching every corner of the house. Their daughter, little Tommy, ran through the corridor shouting, "My room! My room!" As if she already owned every inch of it. It looked like the start of something good. But beginnings often lie. That evening, after the unloading and the excitement, the family settled down for their first night. The air smelled of new paint, dust, and a strange sweetness, like flowers that bloom where they shouldn't. The house was quiet, too quiet, like it was listening. And then the whispers started. Not loud. Not clear. Just a breath somewhere inside the walls, saying something nobody could fully hear. If you've ever heard a whisper that you couldn't trace, you know the kind I mean, the kind that makes the hairs on your arm rise even when the room is warm. Akin paused. Tommy stopped drawing. But only Monarch's face changed. Only her eyes moved slowly from one corner of the living room to the next, like she was searching for a voice she hoped she didn't hear. "Did anyone say something?" she asked. No one answered. The whisper had stopped. Maybe she thought it was stress. Maybe she thought it was pregnancy. Maybe she thought houses make noises, because yes, they do, wood bends, pipes groan, wind creeps through small places. But this sound. This was not the sound of things. It was the sound of a being. But she said nothing more. Later that night, when everyone had gone to bed, the house finally revealed its true character. It started with a faint hum, like someone was dragging their fingers lightly across the walls. The sound moved, slowly, from the hallway, to the children's room, and then it stopped in front of the room they had not opened yet. A room the former owners had locked. A room with no furniture. A room with dust that looked like it had not been cleaned for years. A room nobody wanted. The whispering room. At midnight exactly, as if following an old schedule, the whisper came again, clearer this time, sharper, closer. "Tommy! Tommy! Tommy!" The little girl stirred in her bed. Her dreams shifted. Her fingers twitched. She did not wake up, but she heard something. Some part of her tiny mind heard the sound and held onto it like a shadow. Across the hallway, Monarchy sat up suddenly. She didn't know why. She didn't know what woke her. But her heart was beating as if someone had shouted her name. She nudged her husband. "Akin, did you hear that?" "Hear what?" he muttered, half asleep. She listened again. Silence. But silence can be the most terrifying sound of all when you're waiting for something to whisper back. The next morning, the family tried to pretend everything was normal, because that is what families do. They bury the strange things beneath chores and breakfast and sunlight. But sunlight is powerless inside a haunted secret. As they unpacked, Tommy walked past the locked room. She stopped. She put her ear against the door. she blinked twice. "Mommy," she said quietly, "someone is inside this room." Monarchy froze. "What did you hear?" she asked, trying to sound calm. "A voice," Tommy whispered, looking down at her feet. "It said my name." The mother swallowed hard. Something inside her stomach tightened, not the baby, but fear. A very old fear she could not understand yet. But adults must protect children even from things they cannot explain. "It's just your imagination," Monarchy said. Yet her eyes remained on the door long after her daughter walked away. When Akin returned from the store, she told him. He laughed, brushing it off with the confidence of a man who had never taken shadows seriously. "Honey, you're pregnant," he said. "You're tired. You're hearing things." She tried to argue, but he kissed her forehead and walked away, confident he had solved the problem. He didn't realize that dismissing a warning is its own kind of danger. That night, the whispers grew bolder. They didn't call Tommy anymore. They whispered a new name. Softly. Repetitively. Insistently. "Anu. Anu. Anu." Monarchy sat up immediately, breath frozen in her throat. A cold shiver ran through her body as a realization slammed into her mind like thunder. Anu. The name she and Akin had secretly chosen for their unborn child. A name no one else knew. "How?" she whispered, staring at the dark hallway. And the house, as if listening, as if responding, whispered one more time. "Anu, come." And that was the night Monarchy finally understood. The whispering room wasn't calling the past. It was calling the future. It was calling her unborn child. You ever see a mother fight for her child, born or unborn, then you have seen pure courage. From the night the house whispered Anu, everything changed for the Adeyemi family. The fear stopped hiding. It now stood openly in every hallway, every shadow, every corner that refused to stay quiet. Monarchy barely slept. She held her stomach every night, as if her unborn child could slip away if she loosened her grip for even a second. Akin, still trying to be the strong one, moved through the days pretending he didn't hear the new sounds. But even he could not deny the way the walls now trembled lightly at night. Like something inside them was breathing fast, excited, waiting. The final night came quietly. Too quietly. The house felt heavy, like the air itself was pushing down on their shoulders. Even little Tommy stayed unusually close to her mother, clinging to her wrapper as if she sensed that something in the house didn't want them there. By midnight, the whispers returned, but this time, they weren't hiding. They were clear, loud, and close, too close. Anu, come, come. A cold wind blew through the corridor. Doors trembled on their hinges. The lights flickered one by one until the whole house drowned in darkness. Akin, Monarchy whispered shakily, "We need to leave, now." But before they could even take a step, the locked door, the whispering room, began to thump from the inside. A slow, angry, heartbeat-like thud. Then a second thud, louder. Then a third, shaking the entire hallway. Tommy began to cry. Akin grabbed her quickly and held her tight. Then the door burst open. Not violently, no. It simply swung wide, as if a polite hand pushed it, inviting them in. The room was no longer dusty. No longer cold. No longer empty. It glowed with a strange, warm light, like a soft fire burning behind the walls. Monarchy stepped back, trembling. Her whole body tensed. Her womb tightened painfully, as if the baby inside was being pulled toward the room. Then the whispers shifted. They began calling her. Monarchy, give, give. Akin tried to grab his wife, but an invisible force pushed him back. He stumbled, falling to his knees with Tommy in his arms. The house didn't want him. No. It wanted her. And it wanted Anu. The whispering room paused with light, beating like a living heart. Monarchy cried out, tears running down her cheeks. "What do you want from my child?" she screamed into the glowing room. "What has my baby done to you?" The answer came, faint but clear. "Replace." A terrible calm settled over her as the truth entered her mind like a cold blade. The house wanted a child. A soul. A life to fill the emptiness left behind by someone who once died inside it. Anu was the replacement. "No," she whispered fiercely. "No. You cannot have my child." The house roared in anger, walls shaking, ground trembling, windows rattling like bones. But Monarchy did not move. She held her stomach with both hands, standing like a mother lion who would rather die than surrender her cub. "Give me my baby back," she yelled at the room. "You cannot take what God gave me." The wind grew stronger, swirling around her, almost lifting her feet off the ground. The whispers became screams. The light inside the room flared like a burning sun. But Monarchy refused to be pulled in. With the last strength she had, she shouted, "I choose my child. And you cannot have her." The glowing room flickered once. Twice. Then everything went silent. Silent in a way that felt final. The light vanished. The wind stopped. The house trembled one last time, then collapsed into stillness. The whispering was gone. Slowly, painfully. Monarchy fell to her knees, breath shaking. Akin ran to her immediately, wrapping his arms around her, holding her as she cried into his chest. The house felt empty now. Not peaceful, just empty. Like something had left. Something that had waited too long, wanted too much, and had finally been forced out. They left before sunrise, carrying only their clothes and each other. They did not look back. A month later, on a warm Tuesday morning, Monarchy gave birth to a healthy baby girl. She cried loudly. She kicked strongly. She breathed beautifully. And when they named her Anu, the child smiled, as if she already knew her life had been fought for before she ever entered the world. The doctor placed the baby gently into Monarch's arms. Tears rolled down the mother's face, soft and grateful. "You're safe," she whispered to her daughter. "You're home. And nothing will ever take you again." And that, my friend, is how it ended. A house may whisper. A room may call. A spirit may hunger. But there is nothing in this world stronger than a mother protecting her child. Not even a whispering room.